Hey everybody, Kabayun here, and this video is going to be about project organization and color coding and some things like that. So this is something that is really important to me. I find that it's a lot easier to work when you're organized. And whether it's a solo track, a collaboration, whether you're just starting or you have a project you already have made that's becoming a little bit hard to, see what's going on, see where you're at, and you can apply these techniques. To organize things a bit. So let me just go ahead and jump in here and show you the way that I organize my tracks. And I even have a Cubase template project with these folders already set up, so that as I start, I can just I already have the folders made. But you can also do it each time differently. There's no set of rules. So the first thing that I do is in Cubase, you can create here folder tracks. Now this folder track, then you can name here. So if I wanted to make a new one, let's just say I said, fills or something. It would make a new folder here. And then I can put the tracks into that. So if I make an audio track inside it, now, and then, oops, you drop that. Let's get out of that. Cancel. You drop this into the fills folder, and so now it's underneath it. So you just basically can nest them. Now, in Cubase, these folders are not actually, they don't have any routing. So you can't do any automation on it. If you want to create like a bus track, you have to do that separately. So let me show you how I do that then with my kick bass, for example. So I create a folder track for my kick and my bass. And here I have the kick, which is an audio. I have my bass, which I've now, because it's the end of I finished this track, is rendered out to audio. Here I have the MIDI, which is now soloed. So these are in a folder here, which I can solo and unsolo, but they're not actually routed together. So I also have a group track here that is the kick and bass. And so for an individual track here in Cubase, it would be routed to the kick bass bus. Now in something like Ableton Live, when you group a track, it'll put it into the folder as well as making it on a group channel. So you have kind of both of them in one. In Cubase, it's kind of a separate thing. And so here I'm just using the folders for organization. So you can see I have my kick bass here. This is my percussion folder. So if I just pop that out, you'll see that we have our percussion here. And then see, this is the great thing. You can really collapse. Like I have my whole project and we can see the whole thing here. And then if I pop out my leads now, we have leads and FX channels are all here. And then what I do is I also have another folder where I just call it instruments. And this is where I have all of the things that I'm actually working on that are for recording in. Here, I'll show you. I have one which is set up with my Virus TI. I have a record one for recording live takes from the Virus. For example, here I have Serum, and this, it would just render in place to the audio. And then I have my MIDI, which I'm sending out to my modular and to my other external synths. And then I have my audio in, which is taking from I have a Mackie multi-channel mixer. And so I run that into my my audio card, which is the Apollo Twin, so that I just have two. So I have two inputs there. So I route everything into the mixer and then into here. So yeah, basically I have this is what I use to create all the sounds. And so, for example, you'll see here, this is a sound I ended up not going with, but, I had recorded here something from the Novation Peak. So say I was going to use this sound here. I'll just remember which one it is, but if it was unmuted here. So what I would do is after I put this here, I put whatever things onto it I was going to. I have a fab filter and a ping pong delay. And then I was ready for it, and I said, all right, I'm finished with this. I'm going to go on to making the next sound. And then I would just drag it up here. And so if I pop it, I would just drag it into the leads and FX. And so that now this channel became right here. It goes down to the bottom. And so now this is part of the folder. So I would close my instruments and keep going. Now this is another thing that I find really important. You'll see here that my track is laid out like a staircase, walking down from left to right. And this, so the way that I find this is also very important, because at the end of the project, when I'm going to be mixing things together, say I wanted to mix this part right here where this sound I just put is. So say I'm listening to the track and I'm watching over on the mixer, and I'm looking at things. There's a few parts all playing together at the same time here. Now, if these tracks, if like this track 10 here was up here, and this sound was down here, and also we're looking at things kind of bigger, right? I might be working in this area on these sounds, and I would just be seeing what's going on here. So I have some other things that are happening that are out of the screen. So what I would do here to just make this problem go, or not to have this problem, is I would just move all of these things next to each other like this. So I would move all the channels where all the sounds are into the same area to create which then when you zoom out is what gives you this kind of staircase feel. And then you know that all of the parts that you're dealing with are right there on top of each other. So for example, if you're trying to do something like, let's see where this, here we go, these sounds, you can see that this sound and then this one is here, this one, you can see them in relation to each other. And I ended up not putting this sound because it actually ends up overlapping with a lot of the sounds that are already there. So I got rid of this one. And then again, because I don't want to be confused by things, I pulled it out. I left it down here to see maybe I'll use that later, maybe it would be somewhere else, but I just threw it back into the instruments folder so that it's in there with things that I haven't decided on yet and I might pull in. So by organizing it like this will really allow. So right now, if I was listening through to this track, I could just be soloing. I could solo only these channels that are playing right here very easily. And I would be able to then, using an equalizer, looking at all of the channels on the stereo or just individual ones with FabFilter Pro Q, anything like that, you can sometimes see the other channels, but you just have it. This makes the end a lot easier because all of the sounds that you have they're happening sonically in the same place, and you want to put them visually in the same place so that you're able to easily find everything, and you're not searching through, oh, where's that sound? I can't figure out where that little bleep bleep sound is, because you put them visually all together. So we've talked about, the next thing is color coding. Now, the colors that you do don't matter at all. You can make your own custom color sets. I personally like them to just be as different as possible so I can really see it quickly. But, I usually do my percussion as yellow. My atmospheres is one of these green things. My leads and effects I like blue because it's a neutral kind of looking color to me. So it has, with the contrast on my screen, it's easy on the eyes. And I'll keep everything color-coded. I have one thing here that you'll see is yellow. I just wanted a different color because this is the vocal sample, and I want to be able to just locate that very quickly. And the kick and bass, I have red and green. Again, the actual colors don't matter. The point is that it's color-coded so that you can just easily see things where they are. You'll see here also, I have a couple sounds that are red. This is another thing I like to do, is if you use everything in a single color, then I'm going through and I hear, you know what, this sound, something's not quite right about it. So what I'll do then is change the color of that one to just be red. So if I thought that this part here needed a little work, but I'm on something else, I'm working on something else, just make it red, which means, you know what, come back to that and fix it, do something later. And then as I go through, when I fix that, I would just then turn it back to the neutral color, and I would know that I had taken care of whatever issue I had heard before. You can also write yourself notes, but sometimes you don't have a piece of paper around or you don't want to switch over and write it down. You just give that visual trigger to remember to yourself you've got to do something to that part before you come back to it. Then another thing about organization that I suggest is to use for some of the preset, the plugins that you use all the time. Like if you look here, you'll see that I have FabFilter on the FabFilter Pro Q3 on nearly every channel. Some of these have already been rendered out, and they probably had it already. But so what I don't want to have to put a high pass and a low pass on every single time that I open it up. So for example, just if I'm going to get rid of this one here, and so say I was working on this sound that I had just looked at before. Now I want to put the Pro Q on it. I just type my guy in here, and it's already got settings on this, and I've already just set, you know, high pass and a shelf and another shelf and then the low pass, because this is a good starting point, because very easily I can just be like, if I only want high pass and low pass, I've just got that here. If I want to have a little bit of shelves, which sometimes can be not very useful, I've got that. And then the first click I have is going to be a bell, you know, there are bells here. So this way I don't have to kind of dig through, and it can be already, and it just saves a ton of time, because you're always going to be adding the high pass, you're always going to be adding the low pass. You might as well set that up. I also have a few others, like my ping pong delay here, just a built-in one. I set it up a little bit with the high and the low filters on it, and a little bit changed, just because that way I don't have to dial in some of these things every single time I do them. And every program is different the way that you do that, but it's pretty simple. Like for example, in Cubase, you just set the default preset here. And so in Ableton and other things, they have that as well. But default presets is a great way to save yourself some time while working. So that's basically everything. I know it was a little bit rambling, but I'll just go back through at the beginning, or from the top. So organize, make folders for your tracks, and then color code those so that you can easily see different sounds that are in different things. And you can make your own different ones if you want. This will also help later if you were to, you know, do stems, because then I have my 4 stems here: atmospheres, leads and effects, perk, and kick and bass. And you could just also mimic those with a group channel or an actual bus if you need to. But organizationally, organize them like that. Make the staircase so that you can see all of the parts you are, and that's just by moving the, you know, when moving the parts around vertically to line up where they would be, so that you can see all the things at the same time. And then set, use default presets, and that's basically it. So thank you guys very much. This is something, again, there are no rules on this. This is just the way that I do it. I just wanted to give you a little example, but organizing, well, if you have a track already written out, go ahead, do this first, right? Go right into it now. The next time you open up some project that's all over the place, put your things into groups, color code them, make the staircase, and you will see how much easier it is to do the final mixing steps, especially if you have over 100 channels. I mean, it can be really complicated if you have things all over the place. So go ahead and do that. And then also, you know, the next time you start a new project, set it up right from the beginning. Just make the basic groups, add the color codes, and then save that as a default project. Also in Cubase, you can do the same thing. Save as template. So I could save just these groups without actually any channels filling them. And so then right when I start out, I've got my color codes and I'm ready to go. And I think you'll find that this helps you to work a bit faster, especially and at the end when you're doing the mixing stages, but basically all the way through. So thanks guys. I'm going to jump in with another video in a few minutes on Virus TI, but I just wanted to do this subject, which is near and dear to my heart: color coding and organization. So thanks. Make some comments if you guys have any questions, and we'll talk again soon.